Hello and welcome to a really special sketchbook club. I'm going to share with you my top flower painting tips, and along the way we're going to create our very own Dutch masterpiece. I've always loved the opulence and extravagance of their floral paintings, and today we're going to be creating our very own. So for this module you will need a sheet of A4 brown paper, a set of gouache paints and a size 1 and a size 6 brush. Optionally, you'll also need a piece of white chalk and a biro. I'll explain why these are optional in a minute. You may also like to add a few coloured pencil details. So, first of all, print out your transfer, reference sheets and your instructions. Now, there are two ways you could do this. You could print out the transfer page directly onto your sheet of brown paper, making sure it's compatible with your printer. Or you could transfer it to your page by turning the transfer page over and using the side of your chalk, rubbing evenly over the whole of the back. Then turn the page over so the flowers are on top, secure it with a bit of tape and use a biro or ballpoint pen, as they're also known, to draw over the whole of the flower image. Next, carefully take the transfer sheet off to reveal the chalky template on your brown paper. So you'll either have a brown piece of paper printed or a chalky template. But before you start, I want to give you a few of my painting tips as how to best paint flowers. Firstly, the three-toned method. Start with the palest colour of your flower and paint the tops of the petals only. Use a sort of stroking technique with your size 1 brush so you leave little pointy lines ready to blend. Then mix the darkest colour of the flower and paint the inner parts of the petals and the flower's central details, again working with little pointy strokes to make the blending easier. Next, mix your two colours together, creating the perfect mid-tone, and start to add this middle colour, again using little strokes, a bit like the natural lines of an actual petal, making sure all the background area is covered. You might like to go back to the lighter colour to blend further, and then back to the darker colour to add further depth. Finally, mix a much lighter colour to add petal highlights and a much darker colour to accentuate the crevices of the flower. Another tip is to use the shape of the brush, which is sort of petal-like anyway, for long pointy petals. Start with a point and work inwards, and for narrower petals, start inwards and work outwards, ending in little sharp points. First in one colour only, then adding darker and lighter colours, however you like your flower to look. Don't worry about all the exposed chalk at the end, this can easily be rubbed off when the paint is dry. Now the layering method. This is my favourite way to blend gouache. Basically, you're sort of adding stripes of different shades of one colour and working towards making the whole area covered. Work whilst the paint is wet, so you're sort of blending as you paint. Add darker colours for petals in the background and highlights and lighter colours on petals at the front. It's a really effective method for painting flowers with big tulip-like petals. Another good tip is to work on several pieces at once. Here, I'm using lots of little dots to make up a flower head similar to an allium. I'm using yellows and whites, and then I'm going back to it later to add more highlights. My final tips are to paint big items solidly and paint the little stems and flowers on top to avoid any fiddly painting. To blend smoothly, keep adding darker lines, then middle, then light, similar to the first flower I showed you, but continuing sort of whilst it's wet until you have a smooth blend. Don't worry too much about the overall effect. It's stunning, and the more painty, the better, I promise. Refer back to your transfer sheets when painting the stems on top of any painted areas. And for pointy leaves, use the shape of your brush again, like the pointy petals, and add highlights and veins on top, either when dry or when wet for a more painty look. Adding all the flowers is so fun and incredibly effective. I think you'll really love it. Right, now you've absorbed all my tips, you can finally paint the whole of your Dutch master. I painted all the warm colours first so I could use all the paint whilst it was wet, and then all the colder blues and greens afterwards. It is time consuming, but my goodness, it's worth it. Finally, if you're feeling a bit nervous about blending or feel the need to add further details, feel free to add some coloured pencil shading and definition as a finishing touch. And there you have it, your finished masterpiece. This is a really special one and one that I hope you'll feel really proud of. Please show me your finished masterpieces. Use the hashtag Sketchbook Club Dutch Masters and I cannot wait to see them. Good luck and see you at the next Sketchbook Club.